call for African Union members to accelerate job creation, digital and financial inclusion as they strive to realize the African Continental Free Trade Area. Speaking at the celebration of the day, which was part of the African Employment Creation Forum at the African Union headquarters in the Ethiopian capital of Addis Ababa, keynote speakers urged members to create plenty of jobs through industrialization, technological advancement and investments. Otherwise, it will be very hard for each African Union member state to achieve the middle income status by 2033. They were noting that a significant number of African women and youth are suffering a low due to exclusion from educational opportunities, work and access to digital tools. African Union is engaged in mobilizing $100 billion in a bid to create 10 million small and medium enterprises across the continent as part of its effort to ensure that women and youth are part of the digital and the financial world by 2033. Speaking on the occasion, Albert Muchanga, Commissioner for Economic Development, Trade, Tourism, Industry and Minerals of the African Union Commission said the instabilities occurring in almost all parts of Africa have posed a serious challenge to the integration of Africa. Muchanga stressed the need to successfully implement Africa's integration mechanisms to increase job opportunities and improve economic welfare, GDP, growth, capital inflows, and general living standards across the continent. FCFTA will help defragment African economies, boost their productivity, and enhance market efficiency across the continent.
Regional economic integration is complex, but not impossible. The institutions of the regional economic communities still exist. The programs of the regional economic communities still exist. They have brought us together. They have delivered in a number of ways. Inter-country linkages through transport and communications and through energy, among others. Free movement of people, though we have not been able to achieve much there. And when we do it, there will be deeper integration of Africa. And another lesson of experience is that when we come together as regional economic communities, we have a stronger voice because we are acting in unity. So as we look back to what we have done in promoting regional economic integration, we say we have done well. There's a lot of work still to be done. We are on the right path. And one of the outstanding issues before us is the question of peace and security. If you look around Africa today, there are areas of instability. Southern Africa, Central Africa, East Africa, West Africa, North Africa. All our regions are engulfed in conflict, and that can undermine integration. So we need to really work strenuously to ensure that we create conditions of durable peace and security. Economic prosperity is an anchor to that. Governance is an anchor to that. Giving opportunities to everybody is an anchor to that. And it's in this spirit that we will come the theme, which brings us to the present. And the present is that we want to use economic integration to facilitate accelerated, inclusive growth and sustainable development.
I wish to address you in my capacity as a chairman of the AE Trade Group. In the past 4 years, we have laid the foundation for this large continental organization with a mission to eradicate extreme poverty and give a decent jobs to our small and medium enterprises in Africa during the next decade. By 2030, the number of young people in African labor force will reach 375. International Monetary Fund population growth on the continent means that by 2035, there will be more young Africans entering the workforce each year than in the rest of the world combined. There is a significant gap between the number of young people seeking work and the limited opportunities available to them. Moreover, there is a mismatch between the skills of young people entering the workforce and the needs of the employers. Every year, about 19 million school leavers and graduates enter the job market, and nearly 3 million gets job every year. The question is, what have we done as the AE Trade Group? One of the initiatives we have been working on with the African Union is the African Union Youth Startup Pavilion, which was the brainchild of my brother, Ambassador Albert Muchinga. In fact, the launch in 2020 of the global competition for young startups, which was held on this date by His Excellency Mahamudu Yusufu, in his capacity as the champion of the African Continental Free Trade Area, and myself, therein His Majesty King Masui III launched the Sokuku Africa, Pan-African e-commerce marketplace. In partnership with the AUC and several partners, the AE Trade Group organized the inaugural AU Youth Pavilion in Durban, South Africa, during the Intra-African Trade Fair, where the AE Trade Group sponsored 150 youth startups out of nearly 5,000 applicants from 51 countries across the continent in November 2021. The youth startups exhibited their products, engaged in intergenerational dialogue, and also compared and competed in pitching competitions. The continental exposure was appreciated by all the youth, but some were disappointed because they could not travel physically to join their colleagues. Why? Because there were some important lessons learned about the challenge with mobility, including civil registration, access to visas, and flight routes in our continent. The African Continental Free Trade Area needs to be supported by the protocol on free movements of Africans, right of residence, and the right of establishment of their business, and the single air transport market. We have to implement these protocols if we want to bring our youth together.
Hello everyone and welcome to Investors Cafe, our weekly program only on ATV, and I am Mugayo Mulina with the program. Investors Cafe is a program where we talk about investment opportunities, challenges, and other sectors in connection with investment in Ethiopia and beyond. Today, we are at the African Union headquarters to talk about job creation forum, which is undertaking here at Addis Ababa African Union headquarters, where various investors, African leaders, African Union commissioners, Ethiopian authorities are in attendance. On this occasion, various topics are raised, especially in order to create more job opportunities in the African continent. They have talked the challenges and the bottlenecks, as well the way forward. I have talked with various stakeholders in connection with this topic. Please do stay with us. I am Ugayo Mulana with the program.
Accelerating a job creation there is a number of excessive demand on job creations in Africa, and we command first of all, the Ethiopian government in the last 2 years, the Ministry of Skill and Labor has started a national job forum, and then that was inspired, and we came to discuss on the job creations at the continental level. And we welcome this initiative from the government of Ethiopia, particularly the Ministry of Skill and Labor. And that has inspired us, because what we are doing on a daily basis is to support the digital capacity building for small and medium entrepreneurs, particularly the youth and women. And we have a vision to create between 80 to 125 million jobs by 2037. So this is interlinked. The idea that came up from the Ministry of Skill and Labor is also inspire us on what we do exactly at the grassroots level throughout the continent. And when that proposal came from the government of Ethiopia, that is aligning with what we do, and we requested the African Union to work and join force to make the first inaugural job creation forum.
Key for this particular, for job creation, is education, because it's about capacity building and developing the skills that Africa needs. As you know, Africa is one of the richest continents in terms of its resources, as well as a youthful population. It's one of the most, in terms of globally, a continent that is blessed with abundant and youth. However, the important aspect to be able to unleash and unlock the potential of Africa is education. So key, we had the minister yet, in terms from Ethiopia, the Honorable Minister specifically focusing on the importance of skill and education. Within our Royal Assembly, we're also key in understanding what is the education Africa needs to be able to unleash its potential. So that's one. In terms of job creation, we look at critical sectors such as agriculture, which is key. Food security is a very important aspect for the continent, but it's also an opportunity for developing the economy and creating jobs. Secondly is in terms of our mineral resources, how do we then leverage the potential of the minerals we have in the continent, unlock that, and through mining, but also in terms of beneficiation and further development of that. Third is in terms of the infrastructure development and energy. So creating jobs, because without energy we are unable to achieve the outcomes that we require. Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, as well as the Sustainable Development Goals of 2030. So these are some of the fundamental and key aspects and sectors that we spoke about and deliberated about here with the various esteemed guests and delegates. The other aspect of investment, to be able to invest in our people, as we've stated, our women and youth, which is critical, but also be able to be financing, because without investment and without finance, we are unable to develop entrepreneurs. A key area for development in the continent is your small, your medium and micro enterprises, and providing access to the finance is very important. So we have partnered as the United African Royal Assembly with the AE Trade Group in the Strategic Investment Alliance. This alliance brings together key partners to be able to unlock that potential, to be able to attract investment into the continent, to pool our resources so we can focus on very strategic programs in the continent that will create jobs. We've set a target of 80 to 125 million jobs over the next 10 to 15 years in the continent, and hence it's what will require significant investments at every level. But we feel that we need to pledge our own support first, because the power lies within our people. And as we mentioned, the Royal Assembly has now also committed to supporting this initiative and has also pledged to mobilize resources to the value of 8 to 10 billion US dollars over the next 5 to 10 years. Yeah. So that's really been the focus of it. We were here yesterday to also celebrate the Africa Integration Day, where we signed the Memorandum of Understanding with the AA Trade Group and the United African Royal Assembly. That was overseen by the Honorable, the AU, and members from the government of Ethiopia and various dignitaries, the United Nations and strategic partners, as well as the private sector that was represented. So it's really a collaboration. It's about unity, uniting Africa for prosperity and peace. And it's really a pleasure and honor to be here to represent our people. It was also very significant for us, given that this is the month of Nelson Mandela's birth. 18th July is the International Mandela Day, and being in Nelson Mandela Hall and coming from South Africa, I served as the CEO of the Leading Like Mandela Institute, which continues his leadership legacy. So once again, an honor and a pleasure to be here.
As it is usually normal, it is not the responsibility of the governments to create jobs, but the governments play the most important role to assure that there is peace and stability in the continent, so that jobs can be created either by our own people in the continent or the friends of the continent who want to invest in the continent. The government plays a role in preparing its citizens through education, through training, through other ways that make them ready to be the responsible citizens, to be able to do what they can do, by providing them with the tools which can make them to be marketable, either at home or abroad. So the responsibility of the government is to assure that there is peace in this continent and the stability of the citizens, and also to assure that by doing so, the continent by itself can be able to be attractive to either foreign investors or the nationals who are able to make sure that they are able to do like the investment in their own country, or the other countries can come and invest in the country whenever there is a peace and stability in the country.
My name is Octavio Diogo. I'm from Benin Republic, West Africa, and I am a policy and advocacy officer for One Campaign. One Campaign is a global movement that campaigns for poverty reduction through the job creation. And currently in Africa, we are working on what we call the Job Now Africa, which is a job creation campaign where we are pushing governments, private sectors, and the youth themselves to do more to create jobs. According to the statistics, more than 15 million jobs are needed on the continent every year, so that all the youth who comes from the education system could be absorbed, and that could actually boost the growth and economy in Africa. According to us at One Campaign, and what I strongly believe, is that more needs to be done from the government side, from the private sector side, from the youth side. Of course, governments in Africa have been very instrumental in helping economies to grow through some incentives and different tax exemptions, but we think we can still do more. Government should approach private sector in designing the curriculum of the young people in the education system, so that the youth could actually learn what is needed on the labor market. Businesses know better what they need in terms of skills, and that's why we think that private sector should lead not to manage, but should lead the designing and the definition of the skills and the curriculum development in Africa. That is one thing that we think government and private sector should do together. At the other side, young people also should actually get more information about what the market needs. It's no longer about going to the university and do something like philosophy or languages or whatever. The future of the world is in Africa through the economic development. And for that, young people should actually take ownership of the fact that we are in the fast-growing economies in the world. Ethiopia, for instance, is one of them. And so young people should get more information on what the labor market is needed. And they should actually they should actually follow that path to know and to get to know exactly the right skills that should get them easily in the market system and the right skills that should actually get them decent jobs. One of the key things that we strongly believe that government should do is to work in diversifying new sectors of economies. For instance, the climate change is a big opportunity to create more jobs, but how? By investing in forestation, by doing more of the blue economy, try to develop more of the blue economy, drag some money from the foreign direct investment in the blue economy, or even from the multilateral development banks to actually draw some money to the blue economics. We strongly believe that there should be a strong partnership between all the stakeholders, be it the governments, the enterprises or the businesses themselves, the development banks or the multilateral development banks and the private banks, the young people. There should be platforms where all of those actors should come and discuss often. This is a policy dialogue platform that could actually happen once in a year, even if it is 1 or 2 days, like this platform of the Youth Summit, Youth Jobs Creation Job Summit. It should be a policy dialogue where all of those sectors should, or all of those components, stakeholders should come together and decide what could be the future of jobs.
As you may know or you may have heard about what we do in this digital capacity building, it's not just training, it's not just finance, it is not just only logistics that is required for a small business. And for a small business, it requires an integrated ecosystem to build sustainable growth. One is the know-how to do business. Two, which is a market connections, which we built a marketplace. Three, affordable finance, not just financial inclusion or access to finance, but affordable finance. Three, the logistics. Five, the soft infrastructure. What does it mean? The soft infrastructure, government policies and regulatory framework. How can we give an enabling environment for small business they can be sustainable? So in this integrated approach that we offer, one of them is of course the affordable finance. To create job, you need fund, you need finance. And it's not just only government, but the private sector collectively working together under public and private sector, you can create a sustainable and scalable job.
Very important is unity is key. You know, there's a principle that we speak about in South Africa called Ubuntu. Ubuntu means like I am because you are, but essentially it's looking at the oneness of all, you know, oneness of all humanity, that we all have to come together. You know, it's stated that Ubuntu is like a tree that has various branches, but we are all branches on the same tree of humanity. So each one has got an important role to play. Governments cannot do it on their own, neither can civil society on their own, but together with businesses, with private sector, public sector, civil society and our academia, we are able to achieve the Africa we want. So we extend our hand as the United African Royal Assembly to unite our people in the spirit of collaboration and to be able to achieve these outcomes.
To the government of African governments, that let us work together. Africa is one. Let us talk about that there is no one country can grow alone in our continent. The extreme poverty is much deeper and the challenges are much deeper. Let us work together with the commonality, public and private sectors throughout the continent. That builds sustainable growth. After that, after you elevate from the extreme poverty, various different countries, they can accelerate their visions, sustainable growth, but the first one is to do it with oneness, and that in combination of that collaboratives and the strengths, combined strengths that we can be able to build, the various experts from the private sectors, the resources, and the infrastructure from the public sector, the combined together, we can build accelerated growth. To the government of African governments, that let us work together. Africa is one. Let us talk about that there is no one country can grow alone in our continent. The extreme poverty is much deeper, and the challenges are much deeper. Let us work together with the commonality, public and private sectors throughout the continent. That builds sustainable growth. After that, after you elevate from the extreme poverty, various different countries, they can accelerate their visions, sustainable growth, but the first one is to do it with oneness, and that in combination of that collaboratives and the strengths, combined strengths, that we can be able to build the various experts from the private sectors, the resources and the infrastructure from the public sector, the combined together, we can build accelerated growth.
Well, from our side, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for being here as well, you know, to capture these moments, to capture this historic, because this has been a very historic and significant step in terms of liberating Africa economically. As you know, we are in this hall, in this area where the Organization of African Unity was established 60 years ago here in Ethiopia, specifically to liberate Africa from the ill effects of colonization. So what was key is that they supported and we were able to achieve economic liberation. Well, not economic, but political liberation. Now it's on us to basically liberate our people economically. So this is really the initiative and the program. And I'd also like to, you know, amongst the youth and the women, it's very important. There's a particular young lady from South Africa, Nilfa Iman, who was our advocate and ambassador, who launched various programs. She showed us the power that one individual has also to change the world. And as Nelson Mandela said, it is in your hands now. So each one of us has a role to play. Thank you.
Well, everyone, this wrap up our today's Investors Cafe program, where we focus on a grand summit which undertakes here in Addis Ababa as the African Union headquarters on the topic of job creation forum in Africa. On this grand summit, various topics were raised, and they have discussed points in a way to eliminate poverty from Africa and unlock job opportunities for billions of African citizens. I hope you have enjoyed the program. I am Wagayo Mulina. Until I come yet with another topic and next time, please do stay with other programs of ATV. For now, goodbye.